Hi, I'm Niran and I'm going to be talking you through my presentation about enhancing performance and navigating the complexities of drug use in football athletes. So here's an outline of the presentation I'm about to present to you, and this is how I plan. I start with an introduction, which is this slide right here, and then I plan to move on to the next slide, which will be the main topic that I'll explain what the main topics are, and then I present you with the three issues that I think are the issues. Issue number one, which is performance enhancement and drug use. Issue number two, which is the ethical considerations. Issue number three, which is the legal and regulatory aspects, and then I will conclude at the end of it all with a conclusion slide. So I'm just gonna start by explaining the main topic of this presentation, which in the high performance environment of professional football, the pursuit of fitness perfection drives some players to new unexplored nuance. For instance, the use of performance enhancing drugs. So this presentation is about the intimate connection of drug misuse to peak athletic performance and analyzes the multi-dimensional difficulties and ethical questions that are connected with these issues. So this presentation is all about the examination of complex drugs relationship and the performance enhancing extent in the world of football. By looking into the diversity of the circumstances, we'll get to know in more depth of the setup of the competitive act and the involved parties such as the athletes, coaches, and the governing bodies in order to achieve consistency and evenness in the sport. So I want to start by going over the issue number one in performance enhancement. So the athletic achievement pursuit develops in football players and the desire to find methods of increasing their physical attributes, staying active for longer, and recovering faster. Performance enhancement drugs are, as a result, originating, and this learning has made many athletes use them to enhance their performance. However, these drugs comes with numerous risks as well as ethical concerns. The incorporation of performance enhancement drugs in football is a complex and polyphonic issue. A few sportsmen might have valid reasons to end those substances, while others may not understand the dangers being posed. Others might fall under external pressure. Knowledge about the drugs and performance enhancement drug types and the effect of such drugs on the body and determinant factors that must be taken into consideration. That balance should be struck between athletes' pursuit for the heights of achievement and the proper embedding of important value guidelines, such as a sense of justice and morality. This says a lot about these ethical, legal, and regulatory issues that play a big role in the performance enhancement drugs usage in the sport of football. Moreover, high stimulants such as amphetamines and cocaine are used by football players to step up alertness and sharpness and the power both during training and competition time. Doing this speeds up the acting mechanism and enables the athlete's performance, but it takes certain health risks such as an addiction or a long-term consequences. Another technique used in football is blood doping, which involves altering an athlete's blood to increase the capacity of oxygen carrying cells or hemoglobin. This technique refers to endurance and stamina development, however, is rightly perceived as involved into doping category with all the unwanted serious medical aspects such as high risk for blood clots and strokes. Furthermore, football players often drink the steroid, which is testosterone or its synthetic derivatives for the acquisition of muscle mass, strength, and power. The application of these drugs can be attributed to improve players' physical characters. Therefore, the use of them is generally limited and prohibited due to the drug abuse with adverse health issues, which may include liver damage and cardiovascular problems. So this is just issue number 1, continued, just a bit more explaining of what I was talking about. So issue number 2, which is ethical considerations. So I'm going to explain that the performance enhancing drugs by football players brings into the light their ethical challenges, because in that way, as a sport, these values are undermined. When it seems as if athletes are just using performance enhancement drugs as a means to gain edge over their fellow competitors, which violates the goal of maintaining equal competition field that is crucial to any sport's credibility and reputation. Apart from the ethical concerns, one can anticipate that the performance enhancement drugs used has an intense risk of health and good being of football players. Those artificial additives potentially have serious long-term negative impact, organ damage, cardiovascular disease, and even mental health conditions. The addictive qualities of some of the drugs and wider effect on an athlete's motor and psychologically psychological systems are logically bothersome issue which must be dealt with. Performance enhancement drugs in football often lead to the players and coaches and governing bodies to come up with a complicated dilemma. These athletes may be under intense pressure to try these substances in order to stay competitive, while coaches and the team personnel grapple with the moral dilemma of how to manage their stars. The governing system faces the challenges of regulation, application of these rules, and reputation management throughout the sports. So, moving over to issue number 3, which is I'm going to explain the legal and regularity aspects of the sport. So, the system of approval, the rule which is set by for performance enhancing drugs by FIFA and the World Anti Doping Agency, is an intricate and complicated legal apparatus having a highly critical part. These authorities and agencies are the one mandated to set and monitor strict regulations prohibiting and identifying performance enhancement drugs use, and the effects are dire to those who break the rule of law. To make sure everybody follows the anti-doping rule, the players who are in the football teams are expected to be tested as often as possible, not only during the competitions but also during their training sessions. Any day that they should be tested, it'll be like a surprise. They'll just be called up to be tested, not every day, but when they are to be tested is pretty often, to be honest. But yeah, so the athletes face health checks throughout the process of sampling, which are followed by a comprehensive analysis of the samples to check if they have the presence of forbidden substances in their body. Furthermore, anti-doping rules that are broken by athletes can result in a range of penalties, including temporary suspensions from competition or like fine, sometimes a lifetime suspension from the sport altogether, not just preventing them from competing internationally, but from all activities related to the sport. The penalties aim to make sure the use of performance enhancing drugs is not so appealing, and in addition to that, to keep the game at a fair play level and the competition as an integral part of the sports. So this slide is not the conclusion, not the summary, but this slide is just to show the problems that these issues face and what they could do to tackle that challenge. So in this slide, I'm going to try to conclude the presentation as a whole. So to start by, the problem of football drug abuse is a multifaceted problem that needs a multifaceted strategy approach. Through the knowledge of how the performance enhancing drugs affect the sport's performance, the ethical debates, and the environment of law, we can ensure that the sport integrity and fairness. Moreover, it is education and stronger regulations, and the creation of an ethical and sustainable culture that can here help football players be a competent part of society through ethical and sustainable means, ensuring that the sport is associated with the values which made it popular in the first place.